Greetings, this is Jazz for JazReviews, bringing you the latest on Dishonored, available for Xbox 360, PC and the PlayStation 3, developed by Arcane Studios, published by Bethesda. Well, I'm sure after all the trailers, developer diaries, you'd be at least on the fence about this one. Well, you should be. You should be at least interested, and today, it's gonna be my job to show you why.
The plague has taken so many, and we must find a cure. When you are near, my heart is at peace.
The sailors say there's a curse on us. Black magic.
So the game is set in the fictional city of Dunwall, design clearly mimicking a British, industrial and Victorian-styled era. It works. Its steampunk-inspired art style comes across as nothing you've seen before. The game world is plastered with very fine intricate details from paintings, or the amount of grime that's collected in what essentially is a poor city inflicted with a plague. And despite the man eating rats, the corpses and everything between, the game world is visually stunning. Perhaps not in terms of graphical power, as textures are at times overly soft and muddy, but the end result provides all the good evidence we need. Evidence of hundreds of hours invested in drawings, paintings, sketches, development. It's rare we see so much work put into game worlds, less so because unlike Dishonored, the vast amount of video games are realistic, with our world acting as the template. That's what makes the alternative all the more interesting, with a complementing backstory provided you have the patience for the books and the audio logs scattered throughout.
Where are the guards? Who sent them away?
Mother, look!
What? Emily, come here!
So our first-person stealth game kicks off with the assassination of the Empress. As Royal Protector, the main character Corvo is left with all the blame. You'll soon learn of the corruption flowing through the government and the elites. And you'll soon meet up with a seemingly idle bunch of freedom fighters hiding it out in the town, fighting the oppression.
Corvo, what are you up to? Good to have you with us.
All to overthrow the snake-like tyrant, Lord Regent.
Goodbye, Corvo.
With the only true heir to the throne kidnapped, we can assume the main character is none too happy, because he does not talk. Now it's down to the player to forge their own path, make their own decisions and become immersed in what is still a linear but off-the-rails experience. The game's structure should not be mistaken with games like Bioshock, but Deus Ex, specifically Revolutions. We still have our missions to complete, but included in the mix are more open areas with side missions, hidden items, coins, and a great deal of choice going about it all. The game cannot be summarized as an RPG, but the player will still be expected to loot the city of all its wealth and make the decision of which upgrades to purchase, the weaponry, and the powers. Yes, with a mystical element thrown in, you'll be enjoying possessing rats, summoning rats, and blinking all over the place, which is essentially teleporting all over the place. With a heavily modded hat, you can use the organ and its creepy mistress to locate all of the runes to fund these powers, along with bone charms offering little perks to make life easier. And sometimes the game will require a little detective work to crack the puzzle and open a safe, but the game never spoon feeds you anything.
Oh, that's good. I deserve that one. Shall I tell you why? The penguins are right. Stop.
This is a difficult game, you've gotta use your head. Playing on very hard like myself was one hell of a challenge, but that's the fun of it. One little tangle with two or more enemies will usually result in your death, so the player will be forced to think for himself, utilize the gadgets given to rewire defense mechanisms, look through keyholes before opening doors, and pausing to use the Superman power of looking through walls. After all of which the game will score your detections, rune and coin quantity, and the level of chaos which in turn will affect the overall outcome and ending to the game. Level design is well scripted, although at times enemy AI may stutter, inconsistencies and glitches can happen, and it's down to the luck of the draw on whether or not the game will trigger the alarm bells. Even if you felt you were completely hidden and out of the line of sight. And even if it's just a one hooker or maid. But don't get me wrong, if you want to mix things up a little, then stop time, put the crossbow's incendiary bolts to the test and slaughter every human and dog in sight. Or, simply avoid every guard in the game, neutralize rather than kill targets to render a different ending to the game depending on how much chaos you've caused, and unlock more achievements as a result. In all of this, even playing with the utmost caution and stealth, the game does well to eliminate any kind of boredom and prevent the experience feeling tedious.
I don't think it's a good idea tonight.
Thanks to level design, almost every guard will be engaged in some kind of conversation, and the various ways of tackling objectives will net a fair level of replayability. There are 9 missions in total, each allowing the player to travel back and forth to base after each mission, but don't think the game repetitive. Each mission holds its own charm, whether it's straight out assassination in a prostitution joint, kidnapping scientists, or infiltrating fancy tea parties.
I should have taught him some manners. This party is a sham.
Assassination options range from a simple crossbow bolt to the head, or say, environmental interactions such as boiling or poisoning the target to death. The game world opens up as you go along, introducing new enemies, different traps, and whole new angles to be used at the player's discretion. So depending on the player's style, one can expect a playthrough in excess of 6 to 7 hours, depending that he doesn't die too often, that he completes 3/4 of the side missions and goes out of his way to find most of the runes. It took me 8 hours with a mix of complete and utter stealth and frantic over-the-top combat. But every rune, every bone charm, and every side mission was attempted and completed. No, I don't really believe the game is long enough. As a completionist, a game of this stature I would hope would net me perhaps 12 for a very worthwhile purchase. If you were really in a rush, the game could easily be beaten in 4 hours, but then you'd be playing it the wrong way. What I'd also like to add is the lack of character development and ultimately story in the entire game. With such an interesting world, no character is truly explored. The game in a sense is very shallow and I feel doesn't delve deep enough into the themes of disease and poverty. For me, the game came across as more the simple revenge plot that we see time and time again in gaming than a real sense of freedom fighting or type of conspiracy complex. And when you do encounter assassination targets, with most of them that will be the one and only time to kill them, not allowing for suspense or greater satisfaction later down the line. Dishonored is not a cinematic game, but the writing and excellent script for what is there can be argued to make up for much of what the game or plot is lacking. I would hope that a possible sequel would address these issues and provide for a more complex narrative. But for what is ultimately the best first-person stealth game since Thief, you can't go wrong at least thinking about playing this one. I would recommend a very strong rent, but perhaps not a purchase for the full retail price tag at the moment depending on your situation. If you look like this guy, don't even bother. And to conclude this review, I'll admit, Dishonored is easily one of the best titles to hit the 2012 gaming scene so far. This has been Jazz for JazReviews with my review for Dishonored. Any questions, queries, as always, will be answered in the comment section below. Be sure to stay tuned and definitely subscribe for a ton of game reviews this fall. Looking forward to Assassin's Creed 3. I'm definitely pumped. But until then, thanks for watching, commenting. I'll see you next time.